Hello, in this video I'm going to try to get the cow animating, and one thing I should have mentioned in the last video that just magically worked, but I'll explain it in case it didn't or doesn't. And if you open up the player here, when we added this thing, it magically put the right sprite on it. And I don't know if that's because, it's probably because we had this sprite already selected. However, if we wanted to put a different sprite on this object, we could come over here to the sprite field under the sprite renderer component. So each one of these things that are in bold are components on this object, and we could change that to a different sprite. So that's how you can select the sprite that goes on a particular object. Now let's get the cow sprite in order here. If we select this texture down here in our sprites folder, you'll see that the sprite type is set correctly, but what we want to do is select multiple here from the sprite mode. We don't want a single frame. We want to break this up into multiple frames. So let's select multiple. And then what we need to do is open up the sprite editor to configure or to explicitly say how we want to chop this thing up. And Unity has an editor that can do that for us, just like Game Maker did. Like back in Space Invaders, we had a big sprite sheet and we chopped it up into little pieces. Unity has the same thing. So let's open up the sprite editor here and click apply. And there are the frames for our cow. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the frames for the cow facing left here. And to open up the options for configuring this, how these frames get made, you have to go up to this little kind of hidden menu here and select slice. And what I'm going to do is just leave it set to automatic, and I'm going to change the pivot. It defaults to center. I'm going to set it to be top left. That's kind of maybe an animation dependent thing. And then I'm going to click slice. And it's hard to see. However, if you look very closely, you'll see that there's a box around each one of these images. It kind of went out, it very closely kind of pixel perfect cropped each one of these things. And you probably can't see that in the video, but if you're doing this yourself, you can see that Unity has chopped out has kind of put a box that fits perfectly around each one of these cows. So then I'm gonna let's see, how do I close this thing? Is there an apply button? What if I close this? Okay, so I'm going to try to close it, and now I'm going to click apply. And if I expand the cow, now you'll see that the cow has all these different frames that I can use to make my animations. So now the question is, all right, well, how do we actually turn these things into an animation? Well, let's make a new object. So I'm going to go up to the game object menu here, and let's make a new one. Let's make a new sprite, or and I can also do that by right clicking down here. I could say create a new 2D object. Let's create a sprite, and I'm going to call this thing cow. And for the we don't want cow eat 0, like that's okay. However, what we really want to do is get slick and make an animation here. So how do we animate this thing? Well, with the cow selected, let's bring up the animation window. So with the cow selected, I'm going to go to Window. I'm going to pull up Animation. Now there's an animator and an animation. Just be aware of that. So we want to pull up Animation here. And then it says to begin animating cow, create an animator or an animation clip. So let's just click Create here. And now we can start making a clip. And it's going to ask us what do we want to save this thing as. And notice here it's going to save in our sprites folder. But what we could also do, if this were a big project, we could make a folder called animations and save it there. But in our sprites folder is okay too. So let me just call this cow animation and click save. And you see now I have a timeline here where I can drop things. So let's go figure out what we're going to do here. Let's drop. This is going to get a little bit awkward. What I want to do is pick the pictures of the cow facing left here. So let me put my animation window at the bottom, and can I control click on each one of these frames? Click, click, clips, click. So I'm control clicking on the frames of the cow facing left, and now I'm just going to drag those down here. Can I drag them onto the timeline? I'm supposed to be able to drag these guys onto the timeline. There we go. Okay, so there's an animation. Now, the frames are very close together. You can see that that's animating very quickly. However, we can space that out. So let me click stop, and I can, whoops. Now I should be able to grab the end here, and I can kind of, I can space this all out. Ooh, okay, it looks like I can kind of drag that out. Let's see how long that plays now. 1, 2, 3. That's like 1/3 of a second. I mean, that's okay. You just don't want the cow to be like super spazzing, right? So there's kind of a 1-second cow animation. And then I think we can close this. See, now down here in our assets, we have actually a new asset called cow animation, right? That's the little clip of our cow. So let's close that. And then let's see what happens if we put that on our cow here. So let me figure out how to do that. Now let's go back to our game here. Oh, we can actually see our cow. And if we run this, what happens? You can see there our cow is now eating, although he's kind of small. Maybe we want to scale up our cow. And notice we've got cow eat 0 as the first frame. Let's change that. Let's just like put in one of these other frames so he kind of looks right. Let's take the first cow eat left thing and just drag that in there. Okay, and then what we can do to make this guy bigger is let's go to his in the scene view here. Let's see what we can do with his scale. Can we go to we want to be able to scale this guy. Now we can actually change the scale here using these sliders, but we probably want to change it uniformly. So how are we going to do that? Oh, well, silly me. So up here we've got move, rotate, and scale just like we did in 3ds Max. So let's pick, let's see, we've got move, rotate, and scale, and then we scale this guy up. There we go. Scale up the cow. And notice that the scale fields have changed here. So, you know, we could even just go in here and just put in 5, 5, 5. And then let's go back to the move tool. And now we can kind of put the cow somewhere else. And now let's run this game. And you see nothing changes in our scene view, but in our game view, you can see that our, whoops, can I zoom out here? You can see that our cow is now eating. Actually, he's kind of a huge cow. Maybe we made his scale too big. He's like super cow. All right, that looks pretty good. I don't know, maybe even 3. But you can see now we're just kind of in the nitpicky aspect of this. So that was how we created the animation for the cow. And then what we're going to do, next we've got to make an animation for the roads and the grass and the scenery, and then we can make a controller that allows the car to move between lanes and makes the cow fall. So there's just going to be one cow, and it just keeps kind of cycling through the game. So, all right, in the next video, we will keep working on stuff and hopefully get this a little bit farther.